If you multiplied your amount of testosterone by 3 times, you would become irritable and may lose control of your emotions. You would gain a lot of weight, and if you didn't exercise, you would become obese.
If you multiply your test by 3 times, but you didn't lift, you become obese. What?
Another danger is a lack of testosterone.
Dude, that's the end of it? That's the statement of this 4.12 million subscriber channel. What the f? What's up guys, Derek, moreplatesmoredates.com. Today we are going to be reacting to what if you tripled your test levels? What would happen? I don't know. What would happen? Apparently this video details it, and the thumbnail is literally a emaciated, dying Lord Voldemort, a normal guy, and then a sauce fiend. So we have like the 3 extremes of the male physique, I guess. And yeah, this is the question. This is by Ridddle. Big channel. Surprised, never heard of it. Ridddle. 4.12 million subscribers. Hashtag ELDDDIR. Hashtag ELDDDIR underscore homo. I'm definitely missing something here. So anyways, let's get into it.
In 2007, Canadian wrestler Chris Benoit was supposed to get his 3rd world heavyweight title. The decisive battle was scheduled for the 24th of June, but it wasn't to be. 2 days before the event, Chris killed his wife and son in his own home and then committed suicide. As the investigation found out, the cause of the tragedy was not a banal outburst of rage. Scientists call the wrestler's disorder steroid rage. Chris had been using too much testosterone over the years to convert his body mass into muscle faster. In the world of wrestling, this was considered commonplace. In the end, the abuse of steroids led to Chris's recklessness and brought death to his family and himself.
Jesus, it's quite the harsh overview of testosterone. He used so much test that it made him kill his family and himself. Just blanket statement. So, we've obviously talked about roid rage on the channel many times, and you probably know as well as I at this point that it is going to exacerbate personality traits in a negative way if you are a volatile human. So if you're a volatile person, if you have tendencies to fly off the handle, get irritated easily, it's going to make you that much more snappy and that much shorter of a fuse than normal. And yes, certain compounds can actually make you much more agitated, but above and beyond that, actually paranoid, insecure, reckless, violent potentially. But this depends on your pre-existing personality traits. We did the video recently on the TikToker who secretly recorded her husband essentially tren raging. You know, we're just taking for her word that he was using tren. Apparently it was monotherapy. She actually confirmed that he was not using testosterone. She claims it was trenbolone on its own. And you know, if you heard the outbursts of rage in that video, I can't confirm with certainty that he was on tren, but I can certainly say that a lot of individuals, it is the relationship destroying drug, and a lot of guys have fucked up relationships very close to them literally because of that drug. Haven't literally killed somebody, but have, significantly fucked up very, very, previously healthy relationships after the only difference essentially being adding in the tren. So with Chris Benoit doing, testosterone at super physiological doses, is it what made him do this? No, I think the guy was obviously had an issue to begin with, and maybe this, pushed him over the edge a little bit, but I mean, it certainly is not saying some guy took tests and that's why he killed his family and himself. Obviously a fucking ridiculous thing to say as a blanket statement in my opinion. Implying that if you take tests, this could happen to you too. I guess hypothetically there is some guy out there this could happen to if he took tests, but that guy probably already has enough fucking problems without test.
But testosterone is already in our bodies. Can a person with an abnormal level of this hormone pose a danger to others? And on the contrary,
I like these animations coming in. It's like, instead of B-roll, they just like animate this fucking guy just like starting to tweak out on these other like random shadow people. Just like fucking about to explode on them from all the tests.
what happens if its levels become too low? Now, we're going to talk not only about testosterone, but also about other hormones and neurotransmitters that radically change the work of the body and can make you a completely different person. Long-term steroid use negatively affected the psyche of Benoit. In addition, his brain looked like an old man's due to constant concussions received during fights.
If that couldn't have played into it, it had to have been the testosterone.
However, without testosterone, there would be no life on Earth. It is this hormone that's responsible for sexual desire, gives energy, and allows you to build up your muscles. Women also produce testosterone, but in much smaller amounts. If you thought that by increasing the amount of this hormone in an artificial manner, you'd be able to seduce all the girls around you, you are wrong. If you multiplied your amount of testosterone by 3 times, you would become irritable and may lose control of your emotions. You would gain a lot of weight. And if you didn't exercise, you would become obese.
Dude, what the fuck am I listening to? Can I go hear this again?
An artificial manner, you'd be able to seduce all the girls around you, you are wrong. If you multiplied your amount of testosterone by 3 times.
Okay, so if we multiply our amount of testosterone by 3 times, so we have, I don't know, let's just say an average guy. We take, 600 nanogram per deciliter, average Joe Schmo. And we push him up to 1800. What?
You would become irritable.
So average Joe Schmo, he was at 600 naturally. Now we've given him a little bit of test. He's at 1800 now, and he's by default irritable. Like, I'm wondering if this guy's gonna end the sentence with, "You would be wrong to assume that," because this sounds like really fucking weird.
And may lose control of your emotions. You would gain a lot of weight.
Okay, so it looks like this guy is gaining fat. Does not look like he's gaining lean tissue, which in general, when we look at dose response studies with supraphysiological testosterone, we see a dose-dependent increase in lean mass. Like, we don't see a guy getting fucking distension around his midsection and having like visceral fat buildup and like garbage weight. Like, what the fuck? I don't get what's going on here.
And if you didn't exercise, you would become obese.
If you multiply your test by 3 times, but you didn't lift, you become obese. What?
Another danger is a lack of testosterone.
Dude, that's the end of it? That's the statement of this 4.12 million subscriber channel. What the fuck? Go look at the dose response studies. Guys who didn't even lift got like significantly superior gains to the guys who were not on gear. Like, what the fuck? I don't understand what's going on here.
If you use steroids for a long time, the body gets used to the artificial hormone and stops producing it naturally. Men who have abruptly stopped taking steroids have shrunken genitals, breast growth.
What do you mean abruptly? They have shrunken genitals from being on it. When you get off is when they go back to normal, ideally, given that you had a decent post-cycle therapy regimen in place and or proper ancillary use on cycle to begin with.
Decreased attraction to women, muscle weakness, baldness, and constant stress. Testosterone is not the only substance that affects our physiology.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm watching. I gotta hear that part again. I'm like baffled the context that's being put out here.
Of testosterone. If you use steroids for a long time, the body gets used to the artificial hormone and stops producing it naturally.
Doesn't get used to the fucking hormone. It literally has negative feedback to your HPTA and tells your body to stop producing it. It doesn't get used to it necessarily. What a fucking weird statement, dude.
Men who have abruptly stopped taking steroids have shrunken genitals, breast growth.
No, you don't just automatically grow tits. What the fuck? A properly managed course and a properly managed recovery phase if warranted. If not, you know, just going on a cruise and like staying on HRT and not yo-yoing your endocrine parameters. You should not get gyno by default. Like, what the fuck?
Decreased attraction to women, muscle.
Decreased attraction to women. So what? You end up becoming LDDIR homo if I do gear and then I stop? What the fuck is going on in this video?
Weakness, baldness, and constant stress. Testosterone is not the only substance that affects our physiology and psyche. It's commonly believed that, for example, dopamine is
Listen to this epic music in the background, too.
a pleasure hormone. Serotonin gives us happiness, and oxytocin gives us love. But this is a very stereotypical misconception. After all, these neurotransmitters are involved in a variety of different processes and radically change a person's consciousness. Imagine two elderly people. One of them can't hold a spoon in his trembling hands and moves around in a wheelchair. The second claims that he is Napoleon, and you won't convince him otherwise. The only cardinal difference between them is that the former has a dopamine deficiency, which led to Parkinson's disease, and the latter has an excess, which made him schizophrenic. Dopamine makes people act, especially if there's a reward for the action. Therefore, it's wrong to call it a pleasure hormone. Rather, it's a desire hormone. Without dopamine, you wouldn't get up in the morning for a job you don't like, but with it, you will rise. After all, at work, they pay money that you can use to buy something nice. The level of dopamine in our bodies increases from delicious food, vivid memories, pleasant touches, and making love. The effect of the hormone is comparable to cocaine. You feel pleasure, but not euphoria. In this, you may focus too much on your thoughts and lose the motivation to do anything. That's why people who suffer from schizophrenia go crazy. They're so focused on their fantasies that they begin to perceive them as reality. That's why you shouldn't take cocaine. If you use it often, you can become psychotic and go off the rails. And when the
So this sort of has some tie back to, if you haven't watched the Psych Substance podcast I did with Adam, highly recommend you watch it. We talk about schizophrenics and Connor Murphy's, you know, current situation and whatnot. It has a lot of overlap with this. This is a fucking weird video though, dude. Like, some of the claims that were made in the first few minutes here, I'm baffled that this is a recent video. Like, I'm surprised, dude.
The effects of the drug are over. You feel crushed because of the dopamine drop and won't be able to perform the simplest physical tasks. But there are other drugs that affect our brains differently. Take LSD, for example. Let's assume that you have 250 micrograms of this substance in your body. It's a warm summer morning. You get on your bike and drive down a familiar street, as the creator of the substance, Albert Hofmann, did on April 19, 1943. You're flying through the city at a speed of 40 kilometers per hour, but it seems to you that you're actually crawling along the road at the speed of a turtle. The world around you becomes like an impressionist painting. Ripples appear on buildings. You begin to see clear geometric patterns in front of your eyes. At some point, a huge rabbit starts chasing you. You feel very anxious.
It's like a Connor Murphy thumbnail.
This psychedelic effect is achieved by serotonin. LSD interferes with the normal functioning of serotonin receptors in the brain, and the neurotransmitter itself begins activating the receptors in a chaotic manner. Therefore, complete chaos and hallucinations are created before the eyes. People who experience panic attacks, anxiety, and social phobia tend to suffer from a serotonin imbalance. It's still unknown whether a lack or excess of serotonin triggers anxiety. On the one hand, a strong excess of serotonin can lead to a coma. On the other hand, research from Columbia University and the New York Psychiatric Institute has shown that people who commit suicide, on average, have 20% fewer serotonin neurons than the average person. In any case, we can thank serotonin for giving us normal sleep, a good appetite, and a good mood. But there's still someone to thank: your mother. More specifically, the oxytocin in her head. Thanks to this hormone, the mother doesn't eat her child immediately after birth, but protects and educates it. Oxytocin causes a sense.
What? You just say that oxytocin prevents you from eating your fucking kid after birthing it?
Thanks to this hormone, the mother doesn't eat her child immediately after birth, but
You're saying if we use a receptor antagonist to block, I actually don't know the chemical interactions with oxytocin, to be honest, that much. That's why it's still unused in my fridge right now, the nasal spray that I've discussed many times. But you're telling me if there was a lack of if oxytocin was crushed into nothingness and or we had complete receptor antagonism, that a human mom would eat her fucking baby after it was born. That's literally what you just fucking said.
thank your mother. More specifically, the oxytocin in her head. Thanks to this hormone, the mother doesn't eat her child immediately after birth, but protects and educates it. Oxytocin.
I was gonna fucking eat you, but instead I'm gonna teach you the ways of becoming an adult. I'm going to teach you math instead of eating you. But my first inkling was to fucking eat you.
Causes a sense of trust and security and reduces the level of fear and anxiety. The more oxytocin your brain releases, the stronger your intuition.
And the less you want to eat babies.
And this is a key factor in communicating with people. If you're able to easily find a common language with strangers, then there's nothing wrong with your
Look at the fucking cabooses on these things, jeez.
Oxytocin levels. Those who suffer from a lack of oxytocin tend to be withdrawn and depressed people. It's difficult for them to understand the meaning of love. They often quarrel with their partner. The saddest sight is a mother who's ready to give up her own child due to low oxytocin levels.
At least she didn't eat them. Fuck.
So the next time you get offended by your significant other over a minor detail, think about whether your oxytocin levels are okay. On the other hand, there are people who are prone to constant depression and try to increase it in every possible way. If you want to know the very bottom of the psychological state, welcome to the world of heavy drugs. Morphine, heroin, and codeine are.
How the fuck did we get from what if you tripled your test levels and it making you not attracted to women anymore and all the weird shit said at the start to now we're talking about taking heroin and codeine?
The worst drugs on earth. After all, they pull the opioid receptor.
Like, I thought we were gonna have some like tie back to the testosterone. That's like the title of the fucking video and why I'm reacting to it. And instead he's just giving me like weird fucking neurotransmitter information. And some of it's like totally unrelated, unless I'm missing the whole grand point here.
Brain. These same receptors are also affected by endorphins, another neurotransmitter in your nervous system. Endorphins create the body's natural defense mechanism. If you're in pain, endorphins relieve this pain. If you're under stress, endorphins normalize the functioning of the heart and lungs. Thanks to endorphins, the immune system is activated and damaged tissues heal faster. And endorphins activate the state of joy and euphoria when we reach a goal. Nature understands that being in constant euphoria, humanity would not survive. Therefore, endorphins are released when necessary. That's why it's so dangerous to take opiates that mimic the effect of endorphins. A person feels euphoric, no pain or panic. You're in complete bliss for a few minutes. In a few hours, the worst begins. When the effects of opiates end, all the pain that endorphins normally dampen is now unmuted by anything. The brain interprets every movement of a muscle or joint as a hell of a pain. You get hot and cold, aspirin won't help. This condition can only be corrected by endorphins, but they won't be released into your blood soon. you have to go through the strongest withdrawal and go through the most hopeless depression in your life. Many people can't stand it and rush to take the next dose. This is how physiological dependence is formed. The body stops activating opioid receptors on its own, and all that remains for the rest of your life is to take medications. We've talked a lot about drugs today.
This is like the ultimate like dare video for fucking scaring high schoolers or middle schoolers or whatever from taking all drugs. All of them.
If you value your physical and psychological health, don't use them. Your brain knows exactly what hormone to release and at what point. By taking drugs, you destroy the system that's inherent in you by nature and risk going crazy ahead of time. If you think materialistically, your personality is your brain. The neural connections that you've formed throughout your life and the neurotransmitters that affect brain receptors and shape your mood, this all makes you an individual. Think about it the next time you want to show other people that you're different. After all, there are no two people in the world with identical brains. Even twins are different. Share your thoughts about this in the comments. And thanks for watching.
What the fuck, bro? That was the biggest misrepresentation of what happens when you increase your test levels that I've ever fucking seen, potentially. From a massive channel. And with all of these animations, the guy sounding like a goddamn movie trailer narrator, everyone's gonna think this is like official high quality scientific information. I will indeed check the comment section. Let me refresh this and go look at the comment section as you have requested, Ridddle. And please, like, what the fuck is this? I'm clearly not understanding what the fuck these hashtags are. Let me just click this and see what comes up. I don't know. Somebody let me know in the comment section what that means, because I'm sure it's probably obvious, I'm just missing it. This video went in a complete different direction than I expected. I want big muscles, a low voice, and an attractive body, puberty, butt hair. Wow, good one. What would happen if your testosterone levels tripled? Ridddle proceeds to talk about completely unrelated drugs for 80% of the video. That's right? Constant stress, muscle weakness, baldness, people. Yeah, right. Shrunken genitals, people. Oh, hell no. Imagine him as your science teacher and teaches you with the same voice. Things I can't control don't scare me. They just anger me. Like allergies, I'm angry. I went from testosterone to drugs. Can never imagine what to expect from Ridddle. Good educational video. Should be used in schools. Who could tune out that epic voice? Again, like I said, the epic voice, the high quality animations and whatnot, the mention of like scientific studies and whatnot. Like, holy shit, dude. This was terrible. Well, this video needs to be played in schools to educate young minds. It's a necessity rather than studying bogus mathematical formulas. This is what young people need. Telling us that we're going to become non-attracted to the opposite sex if we take testosterone. After all, they are the future. Let's see. Oxytocin causes the mother to not eat her child immediately after birth. Okay. Right? Sci-fi, but this is a cool destruction. What the fuck is going on? This channel makes me feel weird, but not necessarily in a bad way. The roids thing was disproven as the autopsy for Chris Benoit showed CTE essentially from all those chair shots to the head and diving headbutts. Yeah, that couldn't have been the cause or something that exacerbated it. It had to be the test. And by the way, if you are low T and you're 200 nanogram per deciliter hypogonadal and literally feel like fucking killing yourself from low T, tripling your test levels, of course, is going to make things worse, according to fucking Ridddle. What a dumb misrepresentation of what test does. I'm baffled that this video was put out, and what a way to like tangent it off into talking about like fucking psychedelics and neurotransmitters, and then just tying it all back at the end in some like shitty little present with a nice little bow on top saying don't do drugs at all because of this. Fucking weird video, dude. Not what I was expecting. I've had this on my watch list for a while now, and this was like, I thought this was gonna be like a big fucking channel with like a reasonable, representation of something like, maybe something like, if your doctor prescribes you TRT because you need it, like maybe there's a medically justified reason to take it, and it's probably worth looking at. But if you're, talking about super physiological levels, you probably don't need that because it's probably not healthy and blah, 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 blah. But no, they took it a complete different direction. We're just like, fuck it. Tripling your test equals bad. This is what happens. You're gonna get fucked up. You're gonna get tits. You're gonna hate women. All this shit's gonna happen. The wife that you eventually get is gonna eat your fucking kid if she doesn't have enough oxytocin. What a weird video, dude. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All the comments help the algorithm. They're much appreciated. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplatemordates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplatemordates. Snapchat. What the fuck have I said? Instagram at moreplatemordates. Facebook, Snapchat, Not BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below, including my TRT clinic. I'll telemedicine from the comfort of your own home with high quality oversight from doctors who actually know what the fuck hormones do, as well as testosterone, and you will not have to deal with some horse shit that sounds like this. Remember the part where he said you'd get obese when you took test? What the fuck?
If you multiplied your amount of testosterone by 3 times, you would become irritable and may lose control of your emotions. You would gain a lot of weight. And if you didn't exercise, you would become obese.
If you take test and don't work out, you become fat. And if you take test and work out, you still gain weight and it looks shitty. You look like this 3D morph of a fucking fat ass who sits on his ass, who turns into this fucking Michelin man of a disaster simply because he increased his potential for muscle growth. He becomes the Michelin man, but in a all fat and shitty weight, you know, because that's totally what happens. Anyway, if you want recommended lab tests and diagnostics, all in the video description below. Gorilla Mind, nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode, pre-workout formulas to design myself from scratch, recommended diet model to gain muscle, sports performance, yada, yada, yada. I'm speechless after this video. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.